Okay, I got a couple different brand new pieces of equipment that I want to test out. One is the Smith & Wesson M&P 10 in 308 rifle that has never been fired. So we're going to do that for the first time. And also we have the UUQ 4-12 by 50 scope. And I think a question that a lot of us have when we go looking for scopes is, do I really have to fork out a lot of money for a good scope? Well, the short answer is no. And we're going to take a look at this. I think it's important right off the get-go that we establish that I think there's two different camps when it comes to scopes. On the one hand, you have deer hunters, military, law enforcement. You say, why would you lump all those people together? Well, I'll come back to that. So that's Group A. Group B would be your long-range precision target shooters. And those are the guys that want to hit thumbtacks at 1,000 yards. If that's you, if you're in Group B, the UUQ may not be the scope that you're looking for. May I recommend more something along the lines of something like this, Arkin Optics SH-4 4-14 by 44. That has a really super accurate turrets on it, and you can dial in and be super accurate with something like that. So let's say you're in Group A. You're a deer hunter. Let's say a deer hunter dials in, you zero your scope at 100 yards. Well, any of your shots, whether it be up close at 20, 30 yards or it's 200 or 300 yards, your margin of error most of the time is it's going to be, your bullets, it's going to be within 2 or 3 inches usually of where you're shooting if you got it zeroed in at 100. So basically you just zero it, set it, and forget it. That's good enough for hunting. That's good enough for anti-personnel if you're military or whatever. That's good enough for the kill. The main focus is just getting your bullet in the kill zone. Now for long-range target shooting, that's not really good enough. You need a more of a precision scope for that. But I figured we'd take a look at this scope. It's lower end. I only paid about $100 for this. The question is, can a scope like this hold zero? Can it be accurate? So let's take a look. Okay, so there's your crosshairs. It's also a lighted reticle, so let me see if I can turn that on. There it is on grain. It's actually a lot brighter than what it looks. Of course, I'm doing this in daylight. Those are for low light. And it's got 5 different settings on red and green. This red dot reflex sight is actually pretty cool. You can acquire your target really fast with this. It's not like you're looking down a tube or a scope. I mean, you can use both eyes open and there it is. And you've got different settings for this as well. It's a lot more clear than what you're seeing here. So there's that one. Doesn't want to focus the way I want it to. There's also a crosshairs. There, it's better zoomed out. It's not that big, bulky, blurry thing that you see when I zoom in. It's more like that. And then you got a cross between the two. For me, I either like the crosshairs or just a simple red dot. The other two seem pretty busy to me. You can also have that on green as well, so that's available in red and green. You also have this laser. There, you can actually see the laser. The scope is not dialed in yet, so the laser is way off, or the scope is, one of the two. So we'll have to dial all this stuff in. I'm not a big fan of lasers anyway. I'm more of a red dot guy. Like I said, I have not yet fired this gun. I waited close to 11 months for this. The Smith & Wesson M&P 10 in 308. When I finally did go pick it up, I was amazed at how light it was. It's only about 8 pounds, and I thought right away, well, this is probably going to be my hunting rifle, because it's light. I I have another AR-10 that's closer to 12 or 13 pounds, and that's probably going to be more like for putting on a bipod type thing. That's a heavy gun. But this one, you can maneuver quickly because it's light, and you can acquire your target fast, of course, with the reflex sight. I did watch a couple reviews on this, and one reviewer said it looked like the glass had been cleaned off with boogers. I don't know about that. I'd have to disagree. I think it's actually, you can't tell from this because I'm obviously not skilled at getting zoomed in on this, but it's actually pretty clear. You can definitely see well enough to hit what you're shooting at. I will admit, when you put it on like the 12 power, yeah, it does start to get a little blurry. But being that I'm a deer hunter, I like to keep my scopes on the lowest power, and the reason being, I like to acquire my target quickly. You know, deer may only give you a few seconds for a shot. That doesn't mean they're always running. Usually they could be walking, and they're just walking from one tree to the next, and you may only get 3 or 4 seconds. So I put my scopes on the lowest setting so I can have that wider field of vision so I can pick up my target quickly. And of course, that's real easy to do with a reflex sight. Another thing too is you'll notice that I put a 1-inch riser, because in order for this scope to be feasible for me, the eye relief isn't great, but it's not bad either. It'll work. I had to have this scope mounted all the way back, and as a consequence I could not get my hand in there to get the charging handle. So I added that 1-inch riser. Problem solved. I can easily access that charging handle now. So I'm going to cut the camera. Give me a little bit and I will get this thing dialed in, and then we'll do some shooting on camera. See how accurate both gun and scope combo turns out to be.
So I'm just going to voice over the video for this section. Here I am shooting at 100 yards with the new setup. There's that group up close. Keep in mind this isn't a bolt gun, so I mean they aren't known for superior accuracy. But I mean I would call that pretty good if you discount those 2 to the left, which was probably me. Those 3 in the middle are about a 1-inch group. So here I am shooting the next group, which printed low, and I think it might be because I was starting to anticipate the recoil a bit much. I mean, it is a 308, it is only 8 pounds, but with a setup like that, you know, you just have to get used to the recoil. Now, just for comparison reasons, here I'm shooting my other AR-10, which is a build. It's a Diamondback lower, Striking Industries upper, and it's got the Arc and Optics scope. Here's that group up close. So it looks like I'm shooting a bit more consistently with this setup, but the groups are all somewhat fairly similar. Now here's the red dot at 30 yards. So red dot appears to be fairly accurate. I just need to click over a few to the right and call it good.
Okay, final thoughts on this. The scope, the UUQ scope, actually seems pretty good. Seems accurate, seems to hold zero. The turrets, they actually click and they actually seem to work and to be accurate. So that's good. The red dot seems okay, seems accurate. I do have one serious complaint about the red dot, and that's in the adjustment. You have a hex adjustment for your windage and your elevation. I don't know if it's focusing in on that. So there's your adjustment for your windage. Now that has clicks. You can actually hear them and feel them, and they seem to be pretty accurate. So that's fine. But the elevation, your up and down, that does not click. It just turns, and it's a bit of a gritty turn at that. So that, I'm going to have to give that a bad mark for that. It can still be adjusted, but there's a lot more guesswork. So whether that was a machining error, or I hope that wasn't designed that way, but that's I'm going to have to give it a bad mark for that. You can't even tell. There's no clicks, so it's guesswork. So I didn't like that. So the scope, unfortunately, I really wanted to give it like, at least like a 3 out of 5 or something, but just because of that red dot issue there, I'm going to have to go 2.5 out of 5. Will this scope stay on my gun? I might have to do some thinking about that. It may not. I might hang on to the scope. But my advice maybe would be, if you're thinking about getting that, save your money. Look for something a little bit better. Like I said, the scope works. I mean, would I take that deer hunting? Sure. And I'd probably get a deer. But yeah, that's so pretty iffy on the scope. Now let's talk about the gun. You have your adjustable buttstock. You've got your safe and fire on both sides. You've got your magazine release on both sides. You've got your bolt release on both sides. And when you pick this up and you handle it, it's actually it feels like it's a well put together solid gun. So that's the good news. Now I gotta be 100% honest about this. The first few magazines that I put through this thing, the bolt did not lock open on the last round. So, and I didn't know if that was, is there something wrong with the gun or what's going on here. I did hear one reviewer talk about certain guns, they have a break-in period, and I don't remember details, but they said something about there needs to be a natural seal that forms, and you only get that by firing the weapon. And if that's the case, then that's, maybe that's the case, I don't know. But I made the mistake of not cleaning and lubing this thing right out of the box. I checked the barrel, of course, before I fired it, but I didn't clean and lube it. So if you're thinking about getting this gun, I think it is a good gun. If you're thinking about getting it, just make sure you clean and lube it first thing. Because after about 40 rounds to this thing, it started to, misfeed and jam up. So I'm like, well, what's going on here? So I finally took it apart. I looked at it. It was pretty much dry. I mean, usually when you get a gun straight from the manufacturer and they ship it to you, they put it, from my experiences, they put a lot of, lube or preservative or whatever they call it. And in this gun, it was pretty much dry. I was shocked, actually. So I cleaned it and lubed it, and the bolt not locking open at the end got better. I mean, it's still doing it, but no more jam ups. So I don't know, maybe there is a break-in period. I hope that's the case. And if worse comes to worse, if there is something wrong that it's causing it to short stroke, it's under gassed or whatever, I can always send it back to Smith & Wesson. So the gun, I will give 3.5 out of 5, because like I said, it does handle well, and for the fact that it's only 8 pounds and it's this well put together, this solid, I think that's actually a feat. So that is actually pretty impressive. So there you have it. I'll give you the thumbs up for the gun, not so much for the scope. If you like this review, or if this helped you decide on what you want to purchase or not want to purchase, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.